Can we bring the meeting to order? Okay, we'll bring the budget meeting to order at 9:34. Just a note, I sat with Christine and Marsha yesterday from 9 until 3. We went over a number of things on the budget, and I've instructed her to bring forth the water today as well as the capital items. The operating is pretty straightforward and shouldn't take too long to go through in the operating, and I felt that the capital projects were going to take the longest to make some sort of decisions with regards to those. And once those decisions are made, then we can bring the operating and the tax levy options and all of that together at one meeting, which shouldn't take too long, should be more of an evening meeting. So I'll hand it over to Marsha.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so what we did was we passed you around the slideshow of the budget presentation, as well as 3 sheets here. And on top you'll see the pink one is Beechburg Water, yellow one is Haley's, and the green one is Cobden. Okay? Okay, so we'll start off. Get Steve up here. Steve's going to sit beside me here for any questions that you may have that maybe he could answer better than me. Okay, so basically just to a 2014 summary recap, what we used out of the reserves in 2014 out of the water reserves to help fund the sewer budget, as well as the we used $33,344 out of the Ottawa River Power Corporation reserve to fund the water budget last year. Major purchases in 2014 were obviously the contract with Aqua, and you'll see the figure there. It's just a little over $424,000, and they serviced all 3 water plants. A little recap here. For 2014, water had a deficit started in 2013 of $13,657, and at the end we have a surplus of $42,595. Now, during the budget talks here, we'll discuss some major expenses for each of the water plants. I'll explain to you the 2015 debenture payments that we must pay. We'll have a general discussion, and then we will get into the water rates to have some more discussions there. Now, just a recap. So if you look on kind of each of one of these sheets, you'll see a GL number on top, and it'll say, like on these sheets here, it will give you a GL number, which starts up there. It's 2402, 2410.
Comment to everyone that the GL is General Ledger. That's what that stands for.
Now, in that GL, that's where we put all of our equipment repairs and supplies. A lot of that, well, pretty much the majority of that comes from what Aqua has supplied to us, as to what they feel that is necessary as equipment repairs and supplies to run the plants. Okay? So when you see that budget number of $22,000 in general, now that's just combined, but I just kind of broke it down for you to kind of explain to you how we came, like what those, I guess, repairs will be for. Okay? Yes, sure.
What is the SCADA? I'm sure it's an acronym for something.
It's the logic of it's the computer program, the logic of the system.
Okay.
Because they're fully automated systems.
Okay.
The actual letters, I don't know what they mean.
Okay.
It's the logic that runs the
system. Okay, thanks.
Now, the last slide show was equipment repairs and supplies, and this is building repairs and supplies. Oh, sorry.
So all of these ones, just how we went through sewer as well, you know, we kind of asked those questions. Are those required? Are those necessary? Are those immediate emergency measures?
They are forecasted capital expenditures that Aqua feels that we will or may be looking at in the year. And you'll find as we progress through the slides, we do have some emergency funds as well that they've pointed out. So that'll be on the next slide.
Thank you.
Okay, so you'll see here on repairs and maintenance what's been budgeted for and why. And then we also have a line in the budget, and it's called the miscellaneous, and that's where where Aqua has suggested, and that's what Steve was just stating. This is kind of where we would put the emergency repairs. That Aqua feels that we're going to have that little contingency fund there just in case something happens to those plants. Now, we do have a budget amount that we would like to discuss, and that is the $30,000 figure for the Beachburg Water Treatment Plant. And what it needs is we need to continue with the aquifer study, which is a groundwater study to support development in Beachburg. Steve, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, we went so far last year as to have a hydrogeologist come out to the Beachburg plant, and I discussed some items that we thought may be a good idea to determine or help council make decisions on how much further they want to go with development of Beachburg, and basically just to assess the groundwater table and what it can maintain in terms of development. And the $30,000 is an estimated number. It does not include the cost of drilling wells, which will be probably another $5,000 or $6,000. So this is something that, if it transpires, it's something that will go on for years. You'll be monitoring the groundwater level for years. So it's not a project that you just jump in, do it, and you're out. It's a long-term assessment of the groundwater table.
Councillor Mackay?
Yeah, is it the wells you're drilling, test wells or the actual wells they can use?
They could be used, but the purpose of them is for sampling and monitoring levels.
Okay, thank you.
Martha, can you just take a look on the Beachburg, just identify which GL number that is?
Yes, that is to be capital.
So that's 243402610?
Yes,
Thank you.
It's just a typo error up there, and it should say capital.
Christine?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Just to elaborate slightly on the purpose of this study, if we don't get an understanding of how much capacity we have of the aquifer in Beachburg and development continues, we're playing pin the tail on the donkey. We're absolutely in the dark if we don't know what our water capacity is.
Any other questions about that? No? Okay. So basically then I've just left a little section here to have any general discussions on what we just presented. This is just, we're just giving you the overall look, kind of highlighting the major expenses. As you can see in each one, you'll see salaries, you'll see, such as telephone, small little expenses like that. I didn't think you would want to touch on those little ones, so that's why we highlighted the bigger ones. Okay, so if there's no general discussions, we'll continue on.
I just wanted to point out to council that one of the discussions that Marsha and I had yesterday and Christine was how to deal with the surplus when we're separating the three water plants, water systems. And my suggestion to her, and it's up for discussion, I guess, was to do the number of units. So you'll see at your bottom of each page, the water surplus was 42,595, and it's divided by the percentage of units per each system. I thought that was the fairest way of doing it. If somebody else has any other suggestions, we welcome those, but that was how the surplus got divided up between the three. Okay? Any questions? Go ahead, Marsha.
Thank you. And just to kind of further their Charlene's comment is unfortunately Haley's does only have 33 units there, so their share of that surplus is not very much. Okay? Sure.
I'm sorry. I thought there was 38 units.
No, there's 33.
33?
Yeah.
Okay. That's even making it worse.
So what I've provided you here is just a quick recap of how many units for each water plant that we're billing. We do quarterly billing here as well, same as the sewer. So it kind of gives you a rough idea as to what is being billed. So the next slide, I've just put up here your current water rates for each water plant. Okay. Now a couple years ago we had to increase the Haley's water residential rate, and the fact that it is so high is because there's only the 33 homes there. So, but as you can see here, currently right now Beachburg is paying less than Cobden. And obviously Haley is paying the most. Now Cobden is the only area that has metered water. Beachburg and Haley do not have that.
Only on 2 commercial establishments.
Christine?
And Steve, I'd like you to comment for council about the Haley plant and the fact that it's new and why the billing is so high.
In 2009, the municipality started looking at preparing a financial plan. It's mandated by the province, so they had to put a plan together, and you can't get your drinking water license unless you have a financial plan. It's for projection purposes only. It's not audited. And so the township had Watson and Associates put together a financial plan for them, and I have been combing through it, and it appears in 2012 there was a presentation put on by Watson and Associates on behalf of the municipality, and what it showed, or what the economist put forth, was 3 options, and I believe that's what council wanted, was 3 options of how the systems were going to pay for themselves. And how does a system like Haley's with 33 people pay for an upgraded plant and brand new distribution system? So the 3 options that were given were, 1, each area, Beachburg, Haley, Cobden, pay for their own operating costs and their own capital. Option 2, which appears to be the option that council chose, is shared operating costs and area-specific capital. So in other words, day-to-day operational costs. All three plants are subsidizing each other. And any capital projects would then go on to the area-specific. And the third option was shared operating and shared capital. So going through, and you have to understand that I wasn't involved in this whatsoever, so this is nothing more than research. So what I'm finding is we are following option 2, shared operating and area-specific capital. And looking at the Watson and Associates report, the financial plan, we're in the proper ballpark for what they forecasted for 2015 for each plant. Our rates are basically we're right on the money, essentially. Now, I would suggest that Council chose option 2 because it allowed for Haley to only have a 150% increase in their rates in 2012, as opposed to option 1, which would have been a 280% increase, which would put their water bills in the $2,300 per year range instead of the $1,200 to $1,300 that they're paying now. So I think this is the decision that was made to soften the blow. And as we move forward through Marcia's presentation, you're going to find that if each plant is to take care of itself, cost recovery, Haley's falls short once again. And I'll hand it back to Marcia.
If I may just make one comment. So the net fallout of the present scenario is that the users of the Cobden and Beachburg water systems are subsidizing the Haley system.
Mr. Mackay?
Steve, have you ever thought of putting meters on Beachburg water?
The topic of meters has come up occasionally, and it seems to go nowhere because the cost to install them is substantial.
I was talking to the guy at the conference I went to, and he said $250 a house. Is that right?
I believe that's very low.
That would be very low. That would be in the event that you had thousands and thousands and thousands of installations. I can tell you that I was involved with Armpire when we installed meters, and it was about $310 per household for installation and meter. So, and they had about 2,800 meters to install only. So I would think that you're looking more along the lines of $360 per unit. And the payback, of course, isn't there. It's very difficult for residents to get used to a metered billing, and there becomes a number of issues. When you have older homes, you'll have leaky pipes, and your water runs, your toilets could be running, and then you have a fallout. Well, what do you do with the, that type of issue? How do you credit back? Because, and do you encourage that, or they just have to pay for the water used? There's a lot of headaches when you put meters in, and I would recommend, Armpire did have meters beforehand, and we're just replacing meters. These meters were very fine-tuned meters and caught everything. So I wouldn't recommend it at this time until such time as the province mandates it to stay away from metered. Councillor Olmsted?
I'd support Ms. Jackson, Councillor Jackson, in that I have been through the experience of going from flat rate to metered at commercial units in Renfrew, and they switched over, and I can tell you that our bills, I won't give you the figures, but my first about a year and a half bills going meter was about half of what they used to be, which we thought we hit a jackpot until a number of issues that Renfrew found out later. one was that they didn't account for the drop in usage, which happened almost right off the bat as everybody was getting metered. But the other thing they didn't account for was the amount of lost water from the plant to the end user. So pipes leaking, that kind of stuff. So, you know, your infrastructure better be really good if you want to put in meters and be fairly accurate. And anyway, all that to say that at this point I don't think it's the way for our region to go.
And Marcia?
This next slide just gives you an idea of the amount of debentures that each plant has currently, and we are to pay the principal as well as the interest, and those figures are per year and per plant.
Can you just outline how long each of those debentures, when they started and when they'll finish?
Okay, I just left the sheet in my office if you'd like me to go get it, or, okay, just a moment.
Thanks, Marcia, for getting that.
I'm going to grab it.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Do you want me to wait, or? Okay, so we have one at the Cobden Water Treatment Plant. That is for, the loan term is 30 years. It started in 2010, and it will go till 2040. And that is a rate of 4.94%.
How much was that overall?
That was $1,094,200. And we have one in the sewer, but we've discussed that in the sewer presentation. The next one is the Beachburg Water Treatment Plant. That one is $171,398, and the interest rate is 4.02%. The loan term is 10 years. We opened that in 2010, and that one goes till 2020. Bless you. We have one for the Beachburg Morris Street, and that one was $160,660, and that interest rate is 3.59% over 20 years. We got that one in 2011, and that one will finish 2031. And then we also have one for, I think I just missed one here, Haley Distribution, and that one is $189,104. That's 3.9% over 30 years. That one started in 2011, will go on till 2041. Now, I think I might just be missing one. Just one second here. Yes. And then for the Haley Water Treatment Plant, because that one was the distribution one, this one is $219,354. Annual interest rate of 4.94% over 30 years. And that one started 2010 and will go till 2040.
Councillor McConnell.
Yeah, Marcia, this might sound stupid, but is that the principal we pay every year, the $20,000? And is that the interest for the whole loan?
No, that's just
Per year?
That's per year.
Well, that's $1 million, so I guess that would be... Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to outline, that's what I kind of figured that they were rather new loans, 2010, and that they were for a long period of time, just so council understands that these debenture payments are not going to go away anytime soon, and they just increase over time with further work that needs to be done, knowing that we have no sewer reserves or water reserves. So, Councillor Olmsted.
So, can either you or Marsh explain just the structure of debentures? So, for instance, in 2010, a rate of, I think I heard 4.9%, around 5%.
Okay.
I know interest rates have come down in the industry, so are there areas that we can renegotiate and these be reopened, or are we locked in for the 40 years?
You're locked in for the 30 years each time, or the 20 years, or the 10 years. It's not like a regular mortgage where you amortize it over 25 years, renegotiate after 10. You're locked in for that amount of time with regards to a debenture. Now, did you debenture through Infrastructure Ontario or through Scotiabank?
No, these are all through Infrastructure Ontario.
So Infrastructure Ontario at the time is kind of a provincial grant, not a grant, but a loan. It's a Crown corporation from the province, and they run it, and they go out and they sell shares or the ability to fund our debenture to people, and they come in at a much lower rate than banks could ever imagine. It's interesting because we just looked at a 30-year debenture, and I think we're at 2.69%, something like that, for 30 years. The rates have come down, but those were good rates at the time. Reeve Miller.
Can the payments be accelerated, or is that locked in as well? That part of it's locked out too?
It's locked in.
Both ends?
Both ends. Councillor McConnell.
Anybody who was around in business during the 80s and late 70s, early 80s, interest rates were, feed bills were 24%. Even mortgages were 16%. So over 40 years, that could happen again.
I remember first time buying my car and it was 18%. Okay, Marsha.
Okay. So if everybody can just please grab your green sheets that we've provided to you. Okay, so on these sheets, you will see in the top is the revenue, the transmission side of the expenses. Underneath is the distribution. Just for those who don't know, the distribution is when the roads crew go in and they perform work. So basically then, just to sum it all up, and Charlene did explain earlier there the surplus and how we divided that between the three plants. We have right now a current revenue of $362,502. The portion of the surplus, as well as then we call it should have been called current expenses, and then that will leave the Cobden Water Treatment Plant with a surplus for 2015 of just a little over $47,000. That is with no rate increase.
Just a question with regards to the transfer to reserve. Each one has the same amount?
Yes. So what I did was we figured we'd like to start building the reserves of $25,000. So basically, to kind of even that out, we just said 25 divided by 3 and put a little bit in each plant. But that can certainly be changed if you guys would like it, specifically going to one plant or.
I have one suggestion with regards to the surplus on the Cobden budget line item.
Okay.
And that would be to take, is it $33,000 that the sewer reserve was transferred?
Yes.
I would recommend that we take the $33,000 and transfer it back into the sewer reserve, and then take the remainder and transfer it into a Cobden water reserve.
Okay, that's certainly up, and that's a good idea. Right now, just so everybody is aware, we just have one reserve for water. It's just called Waterworks. So Charlene suggested yesterday that we open up 3 reserves for Cobden Water, Beachburg Water, and Haley's Water. So I think that's it.
Councillor McLaughlin?
I think on that note, if we go back years ago, there was $12,000 taken out of the general account to balance the water budget in Haley's. So, and that was taken out. There was also money taken out of there, out of the Ottawa River Power Corporation to balance the budget in Haley's. So, if you're going to start doing that, then I think it needs to be taken to even it out, to do it everywhere.
If we look at that, then we'd have to look at the Haley's, what Haley's responsible for, and right now, they need another $44,000 of revenue to offset their costs again. So, their rates are already going to go up. I think if we could make a note of that, and if we ever see surpluses, then absolutely, then those surpluses should start to come back into the general account to see that.
Yes, I'll do some research on years ago and see what we did back then with the surpluses, and I can provide that to council.
But I definitely agree with you, Councillor McLaughlin, that and the reason why I say $33,000 for sewer is because it did affect Cobden rates, and this is Cobden water rates, and it affected their Cobden sewer. So it's fair that it goes from Cobden to Cobden, water to sewer. That's what my thought process was. Councillor McLaughlin again, and then Councillor Olmsted.
I have to agree totally, and within my mind, the same thing as what the chair has brought forward when there was the surplus. Then it should go back to where the money was drawn from. And the reason it was drawn out of the water, because you were drawing the same amount out of the Ottawa River Power Corporation at that time to balance the budget. So putting that back, I think, is exactly, if there's surplus, then that's what we should do. And I agree.
Thank you, Councillor Olmsted.
I was initially, when reading through the report, I was thinking the same thing, that we took $33,000 out of sewer to balance the 2014 water budget, which obviously meant we only had one sewer plant, so it was Cobden supplementing the other areas. So I was initially thinking the same thing, we should put it back. But then I started realizing this is a great opportunity to promote Whitewater Region as one region, and to stop breaking down or start breaking down the barriers within our region. And that, in campaigning, that's the single biggest issue I heard, was that Haley's felt that they were all alone on an island. LaPotte felt that they were alone. Westmeath felt that they were alone. So I think rather than keep dividing things up here, I think it's an opportunity to show that we're one region. And me as a taxpayer and a water sewer payer, if I felt that the council needed to make a decision to transfer water or sewer money to Beachburg, or to, for this case, Haley, who's paying $326, which is almost double anybody else's rate, then it's probably the right thing to do for the region. So I think I'd like to support a one region, although I may change my mind at the end of it.
The problem with that, Councillor Olmsted, is that it is supposed to be a user pay system, water and sewer, and each individual system is also supposed to be and is encouraged to be a user pay system. I like your idea, but unfortunately they are separate areas with regards to those user fees. As far as bringing the township together otherwise, there's other ways of doing that, and I'm totally for that. Unfortunately, it is a user pay system, and will continue to be that way, and it's mandated to be that way. The province wants you to ensure that those types of systems, water and sewer, are very separate and unique, and they should be just user pays, and that to get the sewer back up to where it was, it's going to need a lot of help with regards. You saw the rates, how they're going to increase, and to put some money into reserves, because we do have a failing plant, and if we don't receive funding from the government from the OSIF grant, then we are going to be in dire straits there. So I think it's prudent to throw it back into sewer, and especially since it's showing a surplus now, this would be the ideal time to do it. Councillor Mackay.
Just want to know a little history, maybe Darrell could help us. Why did they not have them people drill a well at Hades instead of like drill a well for themselves? Everybody have their own well, and
It's very simple. There isn't enough land. Each lot is not big enough to sustain a septic system and a well.
okay.
So, and even when it was first done, the water was coming right from the old Terminco plant. And then this is why what's happened.
Okay.
Now, this water system at Haley's has been in since before the 70s, and I'm thinking the early 50s. And then what happened was that Haley's town site was sold off and given to the township to maintain, and it already had the water system in place at the time. And then and that was in the 1970s that the township of Ross took it over. And then, but yes, it was determined at the time that the land wasn't big enough to hold. And even up now, I think there are some that share sewer systems, the septic systems. So, Councillor Olmsted.
I'd like to understand the definition of user pay a little bit better. In that user pay, I have read some articles, and I believe it's meant to be that it's money from taxes, etc., not to be used in the budget of those line items. So, for instance, one of the options that you talked about early on, Steve, was that they gave us was a complete system divided by number of households, right? It wasn't regionalized, right? So the definition of their user pay is that all expenses are combined, and it's a complete user pay, not by region, right? So that is one of the options. Thank you.
That was a consultant's option, yeah. So, but I can tell you from the years that I've worked at municipalities that it is encouraged, and it is not only encouraged, but they want you to be separate. And it is separate. Some things are shared. Obviously, the staff is shared, but it's coded to the right to where the needs are, and that's why we can identify what those costs are. Christine?
Just a tiny bit of history so that we don't feel that we're all alone in the universe. There are small towns, there's one called Cardiff just outside of Bancroft, all over the place in Ontario, where mining companies came in the 50s, built the houses, they all look the same, all close together, put in the services, and then the mines failed. The mines closed, and all of this became municipal responsibility. So it's happening everywhere. So Haley's is not unique.
Reeve Miller.
So do they blend in, or do they do what Charlene's suggesting that most municipalities do? Or do they segregate at the mine specifically like we do Haley's?
I do not know the answer to that, but the clerk, Hazel Lamb, is a personal friend of mine in Bancroft, and I will email her today and find out what they do.
Okay. I tend to want to get it all as one too, for simplicity's sake. Because I had that same idea about user pay too, that was, if you go back to the 4 municipalities, we've tried to maintain 4 systems, and I'd like to see, it's going to be the same money anyway. It's a little redistribution in taxes, but it simplifies it all and puts everybody on an equal footing. I'd like it just to consider it a little more.
The problem is the majority of users, and I'm hearing you, are Cobden and Beachburg, and then there's Haley's. And I think each one doesn't want to pay for the other. And and it has nothing to do with separation with regards to old townships or old areas. It's like you wouldn't want to pay for somebody else's hydro. You wouldn't want to pay for somebody else's driveway that they were paving. You know, like it's a user pay system is if you use it, you pay for it. And it's very specific. I mean, this is something that you can be very specific. If it's recreation, well, recreation is mandated by the province that, you know, you shall provide some sort of recreation. So you can have the recreation facilities are owned by the township. They're operated by the recreation associations. And then there's, you know, the Muskrat organization that has a user fee to run those programs. Sometimes they're subsidized by different companies, but it's a user pay. So if they're going to go to the rink and play hockey, they're expected to pay a portion. That's a user pay system. But the recreation facility itself is available to them and available to everybody. So it's a user pay for what they're doing there, but in this case with water and sewer, they're only able to use it themselves, water and sewer. Nobody else has the opportunity to avail themselves of the services unless they own a piece of property in town and build on it. And the same out at Haley's. You'll notice, and I don't know if you watch the real estate market at all, but the homes in Haley town site are really nice homes. They've done wonderful jobs maintaining them and sprucing them up. Most of the homes have been redone over the years, but the prices compared, when you compare a house at Haley town site to a house here in Cobden, they're much lower. And I think what takes into consideration is the overall cost, what they have to do to maintain those homes, and the cost factor with regards to how much it costs to run that household compared to a household in Cobden. So there are some ways of offsetting it. You know, they've bought a nice house for less money than they would if they were in the village of Cobden. Councillor Olmsted.
Not to beat a dead horse, but again, during the campaign, I was told there was 36 or 33 houses in the Haley town site. A number of people were trying to sell their homes and they could not sell their houses for one reason, because of the water rates. And that was door to door talking to some people. In fact, one of them was a dentist friend of mine that I knew personally. They've been trying to sell their home, they could not sell their home. But the more and more I look at it, the more I think a shared system should be considered for probably one of the biggest reasons it lowers each individual homeowner's risk to incremental payments. If something happened to the Beachburg water plant tomorrow that had to be replaced, so those number of homes in Beachburg are going to bear the brunt of that cost on their own. Fortunately, they've had growth and development in Beachburg. But I think a shared system is going to promote growth and development in the entire region and not in one area over another. Again, I just think it should be considered. I'm not suggesting that it's the only way, but I think it should be considered.
Mr. McLaughlin.
I've been listening to all this, and I wonder if it should be brought forward at an environmental services meeting rather than being done today.
Well, it is a budget issue. It's directly a budget issue, and not.
You're saying that changing the system to a whole one complete system is a budget issue?
There's no way of changing it to a one complete system because the systems are geographically apart. So, in my mind, it's just a budget issue with regard to how you allocate the dollars and not allocate the actual services. The services are being provided by one company, Aqua, and they're already all together. It's not like there's three different companies running the three different systems. Geographically, they are apart, so it's just a budget discussion at this time, Councillor McLaughlin.
Okay, I'll drop it because I don't wanna have to beat it to death.
Councillor Mackay.
I have a well in the septic system, so I would be thinking maybe, we could give them a small percentage, not necessarily pay the whole thing, but grant from the rest of the people in the township to help Cobden and Haley's and, Beachburg, maybe not the whole thing, but give them a little break. That's the people in Haley's, that's a lot of money. That's just my opinion.
I think I would like to get an opinion from the provincial, to find out what exactly they recommend. And perhaps, I don't know if Stephen Seller can make a note of it, or find out from him, he's our representative with Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, whether or not he can find somebody that has recommendations with regards to how we should look at funding these and look at the user pay system, whether or not we should have one right across everybody. I know from also going door to door that Cobden people do not want to pay for Haley. Beachburg do not want to pay for Haley. Haley does not want to pay for Cobden. Haley does not want to pay for Beachburg. Haley's made the decision to put in this new distribution and upgrade the plant. And it was a survey that went out to all the households, and I believe those records are still on file, that they all voted to upgrade their water plant and their distribution, from what I understand. And were told what those possible costs would be, and voted for that recommendation in full knowledge of what they were responsible for at the end. Just so this council knows that, but that did happen. And I think over the last year as well, the houses have not sold. They're starting to sell now. So, and that's right across the province. It just wasn't specific to Haleytown site at all. So at this point, I guess, if we can't make a recommendation on the rates, because Martha has presented the Cobden budget and what those issues would be, her recommendation is to keep the rate the same and either transfer $33,000 to sewer and the remainder to Cobden water reserve, or transfer to a total reserve. I mean, we could transfer the difference to a total water reserve, and that could be a part of sharing when that is needed, that any surplus go to a one reserve water, and move forward from there. But we do need to make some sort of decision and go on from there.
I just wanted to point out as well to you all that this surplus is with a no increase, but we don't want to get into habits of not increasing. So maybe just put in the back of your mind that maybe a small increase might be valid to put money aside, build your reserves. Breakdowns could happen, Aqua could walk out, like we just don't know. So it's just a suggestion.
Christine?
The other factor I'd like you to consider in mitigation of this issue is that Cobden sewer users are looking at a potential 30% increase.
Now with that, if we do transfer back over the $33,000 into, pay them back, we could possibly use that in the sewer budget then to offset that cost as well. So there's options.
Either or would be nice.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah. There we go.
No, those are the current rates.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we can move on to Beachburg, and there is
Thank you.
those there if you like. Oh, sorry, Chris, do you want me to? I'm good. Okay. Okay. So the next sheet would be your pink sheet. Okay. Oh, sorry, Steve. The current revenue right now, with no rate increase, current revenue will be sitting at just a little over $258,000. Now you will see down on below that whole line, under 258, go all the way down. We've allocated 47% of the surplus. You'll see what we'll need to balance the budget with no rate increase. We have a negative little over $62,000. Okay? So what I've done was, I didn't want to give you the whole bunch of different figures. What I've done was the minimum, kind of the maximum rate, and it looks like to get a little bit of surplus would be an increase at the water rates of 25%. And that will leave a surplus of just a little over $2,300 with a 25% rate increase. And up here, we'll show you those rates. Oh, sorry, we had to change.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay, last minute, before this presentation, we had to make some changes. So those rates, forgot to change that slide. That just happened 5 minutes before the presentation started. So disregard those. We can get you those figures. Well, it went from, we were going to suggest a 36% increase, and now we're going to a 25% increase. So it's not
Less
much.
than the 181.
Yeah. Which you have your iPad in. There you go.
Thank you. And again, this is catching up for rates that have been held at an artificially low level to get to user cost recovery.
Marcia?
So that Beachburg residential rate with the 25% increase is approximately $166, which comes just a little bit above the Cobden rate.
Councillor McCarthy?
Marcia, just mean we have to raise the rate again. If you want 36 and you only take 25, somewhere down the road you must have to, so you're going back. Maybe it's easier to give them one big slap than 4 or 5 little slaps.
Well, what we're trying to do is balance the budget. And we're providing you with numbers that will balance this Beachburg water budget. And I mean, you could throw a big rate at any time, and yes, if you're getting more revenue than what you're paying out, then yes, there's going to be a big surplus. But would you like to do that to taxpayers, water rate payers? You know, you have to figure out what you guys would like to do. If you want to increase it more than the 25 and keep it at the 36%, well, then you're just going to have a surplus, and then you can put that into a reserve. So it's up to you.
Christine?
Please bear in mind that with the consumer price index running between 1.7 and 2.4 over the last year, with fluctuating fuel prices, that's a basket of everything in. That's fuel, food, housing, services, etc. So, you know, there is no such thing as a flat line on any cost. Inflation has to figure into everything.
Reid Miller?
Okay, I don't mean to go back here where we were, but just for a minute. Can anybody tell me, with Beachburg at approximately 160, the new budget here would, or Cobden at approximately 160, a new budget here would put Beachburg at roughly the same. Can anybody tell me if put 33 Haley people in there at 300, what the rate would be across the board, just for curiosity? How much is this costing other people? Because there's only 33 people. Or 33 homes, is that right? Units? Like, it couldn't really add a whole lot, could it? I'm just wondering.
You mean add them into?
I'm kind of going back here, and I don't mean to, but I'm just saying there's only 33 users in Amy's.
Yeah.
at $300 and some, and then Common 160, and Beachburg roughly 160. What would those 33 at $300 and some do to the 160 rate to Beachburg and Common? Would it be 175?
I've just taken the three rates, basically 166 plus 160 plus 326, I think I took, and you divide it by 3, and it's 217. So that's just an easy thing, but yeah. So you'd have to. I think it would still be higher, but Christine?
Well, at the moment, Haley is only raising half the revenue required to run that plant. Yeah. So so it's not 3, it's 6. If you're going to equate.
It'd still be nice to see those numbers, being how there only is 33 of them, because if that if that idea of the everybody rate is only, I'm guessing here, $20 or something. Yep.
To balance the budget, you need a 4.9% increase across the board if you're combining.
Is that with taking into consideration the whole surplus that is in Cobden, or transferring anything else to reserves? That's just taking into consideration what's there, so. And that's taking into consideration that their rate remain the same and just go up 4%. So their rate would still be higher as well. It's not going to decrease. The Haley one wouldn't decrease, it would go up 4%. Christine?
Could I suggest that Marcia continue through the rest of the presentation, and then perhaps Marcia and Steve, if we took a bit of a break, could go and crunch those numbers so you could see what we're looking at. But if we can get to the end of this, then you can have the full picture before we really get into the meat of the rates discussion. Is that acceptable?
Okay, go ahead, Marcia.
Okay, if you want to grab your yellow sheet, this will detail the Haley water treatment plant. With current revenue coming in at a yearly revenue of just a little over $43,000. It again did some numbers. Alone, they're only bringing in $43,000 in revenue, and yet we have expenses of just over $88,000. So they're right off the bat a big deficit.
Their debt alone takes up 50% of their revenue.
So what we did was we tried to make it look good at 5%, wasn't doing it, went all the way up to 103% increase on their water rates. With that 103% increase, a tiny little surplus of $208. Again, that does though put in, $8,300 into reserves, because right now there's nothing in the water reserves at all. So current Haley rates would be $326.02. With that increase, would bring it up to $661 quarterly. But this is the reality of running that plant. We've provided you with, exactly what the numbers have come in, exactly, and this is an unfortunate event, but this is the basic of, that we could provide you guys. Nobody likes to increase rates, I understand that, especially not for Haley's. However, what are we going to do?
Councillor Olmsted.
Very rough extremely quick math would be every household based on 816, I just did residential units as is the bulk of it, so very quick math. 816 units, everybody be paying $190 is what it would average out to be. So Beachburg versus 181 would go to 190, Cobden 160 goes to 190, Haley's instead of 660, and this is all the new figures, 660 would be $190 because there's only 33 users. So again, I think it needs to be looked at to help out 33 units, 33 users in Haley's or some form.
Steve.
Thanks, Chair. And further to that, if Council in 2012 did choose option 3, which is shared operating and shared capital, they forecasted by 2015 each place or each area would be paying roughly $153 quarterly. So we've already surpassed that with Cobden alone and Haley's for sure. So that's they forecasted, but again, it's a projection.
Christine.
The projections, and I have stated this before, the projections on the Watson report, I believe, gave you a false baseline of data. That was for operating only. There was no contingency in that consultant's report for failure or capital repairs, etc. That was strictly for operating, which is a false premise in my mind.
Sometimes these consultants come in and they're very quick and do a quick and dirty overview. And I have dealt with Watson and Associates before. Sometimes they do a very good job, sometimes not so good. I haven't yet seen where they've been bang on with regards to their anticipated costs in the future. But it's really hard to predict, and especially with all the changes that water has gone on in the last few years with regards to monitoring and what they're required to do each time. A question for you: if we took the whole surplus and applied it against Haley's and didn't give any surplus to either Cobden or Beachburg, how would that fare out?
I'm sorry, all to Haley's, you said?
Yeah, all the surplus
All to
to
Haley's.
Haley's.
Okay. If you put it all, they would only, well, if we went to an increase of 15% to Haley's, we would have a surplus of just a little over $3,000.
So that would be, we would apply all of the surplus, the $42,000, just to Haley Town Site, and they would increase their rates by 15%, and you would be able to throw back some money into reserves. What I would do is just increase it to the amount where it becomes zero.
Yeah.
And then apply that to the remainder to the Beachburg, because it's the other one that's going up, to offset some cost there, because then Beachburg would go up more if we didn't apply the $20,000.
Yeah.
No, that's not putting any money back to sewer. What if you took Cobden's surplus and Haley's surplus, added it together, and left Beachburg their own surplus, because they're looking at an increase already, and to see what the end result would be.
So you want the Cobden, 47,000?
It's the surplus 20,000. Oh yes,
Yeah, the
47,000. Yeah.
right? Okay.
Well, I was just thinking of the Cobden portion of the actual surplus of 42,000.
Oh, just that one?
Yeah, that,
Just the 42,000, okay.
is that what you threw in the first time? The 42,000?
No.
You took the full Cobden 47,000.
No, I put in the full $42,595.
Right.
Just the overall 2014 surplus, not the Cobden surplus
Right.
at the end of the year.
So if we took Cobden surplus of 20,871.55 from last year, and Haley's of 1,277.85.
Okay. You have a pink sheet for me, Steve? Both of the pink and the green. So that would be the 22,149 that we would apply. It would be a little bit less, but it would be probably, I would probably say, let's try this with 80. Just 1 second here. $55.
55%. So it would go up from $326.02 to $421.65. So just less than $100 per quarter, $400 a year. Councillor Olmsted?
So, sorry, did you take the Cobden surplus, divided by their rates to try to give them a net what they need to?
Yeah, we took the 2014 surplus Cobden share and the 2014 surplus Haley share. Yeah, went up to 22,149.
So you add both the surpluses in to see what you can net them down to.
That's right. And that would be about 55%, eh? What's in there? 55%, yeah. And then as opposed to 103. Better.
But I guess when you're doing this, you've got to realize that the Cobden people, the sewer rate is going to be, like, to balance it, I think we were looking at 36%. Is that right?
Yes.
So, and there will be no offset to bring those rates back down.
That's right.
Okay?
Without using Charlene's suggestion.
You're basically taking from one, bringing one person's rate down, but basically you're putting the other rate back up.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because that's what was in my mind. Because you have to look at water and sewer in Cobden. They're both the same people.
Yeah.
Okay. The ones that use the water use the sewer. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct, Councillor McLaughlin. Is there any other discussion, or do you want, yeah, Councillor Olmsted?
Sorry, and just I understand the number you got from Cobden was the 20,871. What number did you use from Beachburg? Was it the 20?
We didn't use one.
You didn't take Beachburg?
No.
Okay.
Beachburg rates are already going to go up,
Yeah, I see that.
so I didn't take The original cost was, if we took the full 42,000 of this full surplus, would only go up 15% on Haley's, but then Beachburg would also go up. Cobden would remain the same, and would have a little bit of a surplus to put into a water reserve, but Beachburg also would go up.
And that's not putting any money back into the sewer budget.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So did we want to take a break so Marcia can crunch those numbers and maybe put them on a piece of paper so that we can take a look at them and go from there? Okay, we'll take a break. So I guess, Marcia, I'd ask you to bring back the full surplus, the 42,000 towards Haley's, plus what we just did with just Cobden 2014 surplus of 20,000, plus the Haley surplus. Come back with an actual rate with a zero, just to balance.
Yep.
And what the impact would be, what the remainder would be that we would be able to maybe transfer to reserves in Cobden, and the actual Beachburg, what we would be looking at for their rate increase.
So Beachburg, we're not going to touch though.
No, but actually what their rate would be
Okay.
to balance their budget.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we could do that right with the Cobden if it stayed back. Yeah. If it remains the same as what she presented here, we'd have a surplus of 47,000. If we just took that, you still have 14,000 to put into reserves. Not yet. Not of the 47.
Yes.
That's right.
Do you want
To balance water.
Do you want me to take the 33,000 out of?
Of the 42,000 surplus?
But they're going 47.
That's Cobden's. So, right. But then, okay, sure. Do that. Take 47 minus 33. Transfer the difference over to the Haley's to see what impact that might have. Sure.